conversation with Kendra Summers. She uses she, her pronouns. She's the president of the student government at Park University. We sat down to discuss student government, politics, elections, ideology, and more. Not just politics podcast. To support us, check out our page on the Say What Needs Saying. The link is in the description. Enjoy. Okay. What's your biggest focus as the president of SGA?
At this point in time, I've seen the things that we've tackled in the past, specifically last year's administration, and they went wider school, like bigger issues that needed to be tackled, such as like the disbandment of the Office of Equity and Inclusion.
Mm-hmm.
And these things are extremely important, and I'm glad that I was there for that, to be a part of that. But one of the portions of feedback that we got on that year was that individual students weren't feeling like their concerns were tackled. So when you go wider and you're like, oh, we're doing this for the university, you will always have people that are like, this specific issue did not bother me and does not apply to me. But the things that I have brought up to the organization have not been tackled. So me as an individual student, I don't feel heard. So an idea that we had been tackling within my administration currently is setting up a sort of website service online forum where you can submit complaints, and they pop up on a screen with a lot of little boxes. And when you click the box, it'll be flipped over and tell you whether or not this concern has been tackled, how we handled it, whether or not we've gotten to it yet. I'm excited for that. A big part of why I did it, why I want it in that setup, where you can see every single complaint for the entire school, is accountability. So if someone comes up to you and is like, you didn't tackle my concern, and we're like, oh, no, we're working on it, they can be like, no, I'm on the website, I can see
Oh,
that
interesting.
has made progress, nothing has been done, so get on that. And it also serves as a testament for proof of things we've done over the year. If
Right.
at the end of this year someone's like, I don't remember what SGA did, there's a handy dandy website with everything we've tackled.
Oh, that's really cool. I like that. So it's kind of an accountability thing for you guys. I like that. That's pretty cool.
If you know anyone that knows how to code or can build a website and would like to be paid for a little something like that, let us know, because we're struggling right now trying to figure out software.
Yeah, I don't know anyone that can code. I'd love to know how to code. That'd be cool.
It's actually a fantastic skill.
Yeah, it really is. It's really cool. No, but if I do know anybody, I'll send them your way for sure.
Yeah, sounds good.
It's basically like a Quizlet. Then you can click on the thing, and it flips over, and
That's
and
the
it tells
exact
you
setup that I was
it's a
thinking
Quizlet.
about.
Yeah.
And then I was gonna do different colors, starts out blue, you flip it either turns green or red based on whether or not it's been
Oh,
tackled.
I like that
and
too.
Then a grayish for in the works but not finished yet. And I would designate a specific person to updating that website. Hopefully, my goal is tackle one initiative a day. On the site, which doesn't mean everything's going to be completed in one day, because that's not how life works. But at least look through and be like, okay, this is the next thing we're doing. Yeah. And my goal is to get enough people in SGA to where one thing a day can be tackled feasibly.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's good to sort of have a focus of, because it could be really easy in your position to see all of the problems and just get overwhelmed, and then nothing does get done because there's 10 things you have to do.
Absolutely.
But just focusing on one, I like that.
And there will be no hierarchy of priority.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think a lot of people get caught up in, oh, this is a bigger issue, so we're going to push these tiny ones to the side, and then those tiny ones end up never being touched or tackled. You know how most websites of this caliber use a random generator?
Yeah.
That's what we're going to just click a button, and whatever pops up, that's
Oh,
what you pick.
cool.
So there is no our personal decisions.
Just
and
rolling
what
the
needs to be
dice.
tackled. Exactly.
I like that. You briefly mentioned the Office of Equity and Inclusion. Do we have an update on that? Is it gone?
It's been disbanded in the sense that different people have been moved to different sectors in the university.
Okay.
There is now something called the Center for Inclusive Excellence. Do you know where the meditation room is? Right off the cafe?
Yes.
Yeah. So behind that, there are 4 offices for the Center of Inclusive Excellence. I've been talking to the director, who is Sarah Perrier, and Michael Thornhill, who is just all-around wonderful guy. They're still tackling the same things they did last year, but they've split it because there's a difference between issues of equity and inclusion on campus versus compliance and integrity, which is holding people accountable for things like Title IXs, Title VIs, issues that the school actually has to investigate.
Right.
And from what I heard, there were people that were overwhelmed by like the workload, so they split it into two sectors. I'm hoping that it's still going to function the same as OEI, but it's a little too early to tell.
Yeah, because I remember you guys held a town hall last semester whenever they first sort of announced that was they were going to do, and you sort of opposed it, like, because your worry was that if they disbanded the office and moved it to its like respective like jobs, I guess, that you'd have cases kind of falling through the cracks because they wouldn't be in the same space. So
Yeah.
is that sort of something you're still worried about?
In terms of falling through the cracks, no, because I got
Okay.
like a look into their process and they're very thorough. The person that's in charge of all that is Vanessa Love, and she does her due diligence. She's legally trained. None of that's going to happen as far as I know in terms of like, oh, we're going to let this one slip. I think it's only been a few weeks, like the year only started a couple weeks ago, and like I'd like to see the difference. Like if I start hearing things about like, oh, I submitted a complaint and OEI wasn't receptive, or like I didn't know where to go, then I'd be like, hey, you've moved some things around and things need to be changed so that people know the proper channels. But at this point, it's a waiting game.
Is there a way to quantify that? Like, is there a way to really compare the way that it was done last year to the way it's done this year? Like, is there enough data and I guess like records of how it worked last year to compare it to the new system?
No, I wouldn't say that, but I would say like, I don't know. I would also say that getting the records from the school when I'm trying to critique a system of the school might not be the best idea, like
Yeah,
a
that's
self
true.
audit. So there are still people that have worked in OEI that are in the CIE, and still people that work in compliance and integrity. So I know a few of them, like on a more personal level, and having a conversation about how things operated, especially from their perspective, because they were like the faculty in there, to be like, hey, what do you think is different? Like, what's operating? And like, these people tell the truth. A big help with OEI was these people's like openness and honestness towards the change. And then I'd reach out to people, like we'd have the forum for complaints, but I could also submit like a, hey, come to this event and talk about this specific issue to find out what's different between people that were involved with OEI last year versus the CIE this year.
I like that. Yeah, I think getting people engaged on campus, like in a space like that, would be good. I would definitely go to one of those.
Do you
as
want to
well.
hear an idea that I've had?
Of course.
Just off the cut. So we have events called Come Complains. We're required to have one once a month where you put out the complaint box for the university, and then you have people come by and like write on a piece of paper and put it down. I think that's a little like broad. Like I think it's a little too generalized.
Okay.
So me and former chief of staff, now vice president, Danita Grund, we sat down and we discussed like ideas to make Come Complains more just better.
Yeah.
And so I have this plan to have one, first of all, once a week. I think a
Whoa.
better way to get SGA like known on campus is to have a table in Lawrence Hall once a week and to be there in the same spot every single day. People will start talking to you when that happens.
Yeah.
And have our Come Complain events, but this time they're themed for like,
I like
underrepresented areas of the school.
that.
Come Complain dancers, Come Complain actors, Come Complain cinema. Like, unless you ask specifically for that demographic, they're going to assume you don't care about their...
Right.
Which is what I ran into recently was people that feel that way a lot are cinema kids.
Yeah.
That are like, we're not really considered COPA because everyone else is a performer and we're like filming, but they have big qualms with stuff like rental service for equipment, professors not taking them seriously. And I feel like if SGA took the initiative to be like, hey, like people involved in cinema, we are here to listen to you, we would get a lot more feedback than we currently do.
Yeah, and that could really get the student engagement up as well with like just in general with SGA, because I still think there's probably a decent amount of students on campus that don't even know
Correct.
what
Which
SGA is.
And when I think about that, I think about the people that we're lacking. Like, I look at, as you said, there's people that have no idea what SGA is. And from that pool of people, there's some really dedicated, really driven people that would make like great additions to the organization. So we're trying to take it wider. We're in works with our advisors, Keely Sapienza and Brad Kowalczyk. We're creating plans. We're having events. This is a little self-hype because it went on today's Saturday, so like 3 days ago, SGA Dodgeball is a recurring event that we host.
I didn't go.
You didn't, it's fine. It
didn't
turned out
go.
really, really fun. I also
I need to go to one.
it's next month. I appreciate the chance to like the biggest demographic that comes in for dodgeball, like we've had it 2 or so times, is athletes.
Oh, I
like
not surprised.
These very straight macho athletes that I never interact with outside of this space. And like something about dodgeball, man, they're open to like facilitate conversation. Like when they're beaming me with balls, someone got a concussion yesterday. It was was insane. But hey, I asked them after. They were like, "No, I'm having a great time. Like, don't end the game." But for them to be like in the zone, doing something they enjoy, like an activity they enjoy, dodgeball is really fun. And for me to be like, "Hey, so how's the athletic program going for you so far?" They answer these questions. Like, I think sometimes you need to tailor it to the individual for the experience, and like if that's what makes them comfortable, if that's what gets them opening up more than like walking past a table in Lawrence Hall when they have 34 things to do and they're not trying to stop. I don't know. I want to get in on more events like that and figure out what the best way is to talk to all these people.
Yeah, like you could do like a movie night, Cinema Kids.
We
could
have
come
that
out.
coming up.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Oh,
I think that'd be a great way. Like,
let's see. Do I want to put this out there? Nothing shady, but we do have the idea of a film contest.
Ooh.
Like when I think about Copa, specifically cinema, like there's obviously discrepancies between like other areas, but it is like Copa is acting, theater, dance, separate from cinema.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you guys don't consider Cinema Kids Copa. Like there's
No.
a whole culture where they're like, oh, you're not the same. Like while it's all the conservatory, we're all paying conservatory prices. Like the tuition is the same. The teaching structure style is the same. It's different from the rest of the school.
Yeah.
So the idea was, since these two groups are like separated, bring them together with a little contest. You can make anything you want, like whether it's like a dance video or like a short film where you incorporate acting majors, like a recorded play that you've done in the Playhouse. Make something. It only has to be like 2-3 minutes long. Submit it, and then we'll have a little festival where we watch all these things. And then there's a prize, obviously, because that's how you get people involved in things. But at the end of that, like no matter who wins, you've got connections from like across the board. Cinema Kids that are now somehow friends with dancers.
Yeah, that's great. I always have sort of considered that. Even like as soon as I came to Point Park, I thought like cinema arts is its own little bubble inside of Copa, and they're more like School of Comm kids. Like from my perspective, they're closer to like broadcast production or like multimedia.
I think in terms of the actual like application, yes, but the brain in terms of like creating cinema is art.
Absolutely, yeah.
Film.
Yeah,
it belongs in the conservatory.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, because I had a lot of those kids, like a lot of those people were in my classes, like in like my multimedia classes last year. I think that's a really good idea. Definitely, I really like tailoring the idea of tailoring the events to the specific group.
And it made me, I don't know, I was a little thrilled. One of the kids I talked to was like, take it down a notch, like you're embarrassing me. But because outside of that situation, I don't think I would ever have gotten in a room with those people. Like those would be people on campus I would have never interacted with ever, which is another problem. Not having a, what do you call it? Stadium on campus. Like Pitt has games where like thousands of people come out and support their athletics department.
They also have thousands of people.
Yes, and I don't think we are so small that we couldn't have people go out to games and like support the teams. Like these people feel undersupported because they go to like Highmark to play and not a single person besides like close family shows up. Yeah. But if Point Park advertised it and had like, hey, not only should you go to this game, but also the shuttles that we keep in this parking lot will be taking you to and from the game, so you don't have to worry about transportation there and back. I think a lot more people would go.
I would go, especially when I've been to a couple of soccer games, especially when it gets cold. Because when the weather's nice, the walk over to Highmark's great.
Yeah,
like it's not anything like bad. But when it gets cold, like walking anywhere kind of sucks. But like when you're walking across the bridge,
horrible.
The wind off
water,
the river.
Yeah.
Oh my, it's so cold.
And then we have this brigade of shuttles that could be used for like. Yeah. Point Park Pride that could be used to take people over to these stadiums and watch these games, and I think that's how we should be utilizing them.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. I would definitely go to a soccer game.
I would go.
And then because I'm trying to think because like the golf team, like they probably don't get anybody
No.
showing up.
I don't know where they play.
I have no idea. I have no clue. I mean, like I was, I was actually like we were in the when I was over in the esports room, our coach was like, "This is like the only actual like athletic facility on campus. Like this is our only like stadium, for lack of a better term. Like everyone else has to go somewhere else. Like that's all we have. Like on campus, that's the only thing we have where people actually go to play."
And I know it's not like it's entirely impossible, improbable, and like unfeasible to build a stadium downtown.
Yeah, where would you?
There's
even...
no space for it. They're
No.
not going to pay for the demo to like build a soccer field. It's
No.
unreasonable. But since we know we can't do that, there has to be a way to like support the athletics department.
Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely think that if you could, because I don't know, like I don't even know like the proportion of like how many students are in each kind of like area, but I imagine a lot of them are athletes, and if you could just if there was a way to get that student engagement up, because I remember like in the last like SGA election, there's only like 800 kids that voted, or somewhere around there. Or was it less?
Yes,
it was like 800 kids.
It was
I'm like,
probably less.
well,
I
that's
know
kind
that I got 274 votes, and my opponent got 180 something. So that would bring it to like
so that's
500. I don't know. I'm not a math person.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know, like that would probably get a couple more to that number, like of students that actually went out to vote for this. Because I think it could be easy for a student that hasn't talked to you or that hasn't talked to anybody in SGA. They could look at it and just think like, what are they actually?
It comes down to
doing
like
there?
not feeling heard.
Yeah.
I also wouldn't care about SGA if I felt like I had problems on campus that weren't being addressed when I brought them up.
Yeah.
And like that's part of the culture that I want to fix this year, because that is not a new problem when it comes
No.
to SGA. Since like the day it was formed, there have been people like, okay, you've got these fancy titles and you sit in this room, but what do you actually do all day?
Yeah.
And like for some administrations, the answer is a lot, but it's always behind the scenes, and that's what I talked to you about earlier. Like
Yeah.
you won't be able to see that change if you're a student and you're not in these spaces with the administration. And then sometimes the answer is nothing.
Yeah.
And both of those things are bad in my head for different reasons.
I agree.
And there is a middle ground, and like I'm not claiming to be perfect. I'm still trying to figure out what that middle ground is.
Yeah.
Having like a layer of separation from us as an administration being above the student body, because we're not. We are the student body. Don't have any more rights or privileges than any other member of the student body. So you have to behave like that. Like I
Right.
think it's easy to let your position go to your head, to be like, oh, I'm above these people because I'm the vice president, because I'm the president. But at the end of the day, we're all on the same playing field. Things that go bad with Point Park also affect the people in our administration. Yeah.
And then, what was I had a thought, and then I think it just ran away.
Oh, no.
Oh, dear. Oh, I don't know what I was going to say. Maybe it'll come back to me. But, I'm just going to move on to the next question.
go
If
ahead.
it comes back to me, I will. Again, like, I'm going to preface this by saying that, like, this question I'm asking, I haven't really, like, followed the midterm election that much, but I at least know who's, like, being put up by both parties. John Fetterman had a stroke. How long ago, Gavin? Was it, like, 2 or 3 months ago? 3 to 4 months ago, yeah. And then he has since recovered, which I'm happy about. I don't want to see anybody have a stroke. I actually like Fetterman to a decent amount. Like, I'm not really a big fan of politicians to begin with, but I could get behind Fetterman, I think. But there have been criticisms of his campaign being covered kind of lightly since he's had a stroke. Have you kept up with that at all, or do you have any thoughts about that?
I have kept up, not with his campaign specifically, but when I found out he had a stroke, I did go through. He did an interview about what it's been like since then. I wouldn't say he's fully recovered. Like,
I don't think so
he
either.
has issues with speech patterns, and I think that like he the way he described it is he can form the thought in his head like
Mhm.
perfectly and he can hear it, but then when he goes to like actually say it, like the wires don't connect there because his body is still recovering from that stroke. I think that's necessary context for like missing campaign events or like not answering questions on time.
Mhm.
Like I think, like, for lack of a better word, it's a little ableist to look at someone that's like just been through a stroke and been like, you're not answering these questions fast enough for me. You're not doing enough tours for me.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, there's a lot of, and like I'm very happy that his stroke was on like the more fixable side.
Yeah.
But like for some people, 5 seconds of being in that leaves you with a lifetime of brain damage.
Yeah.
So I know his policy. I know his positions. It would it be like better if I could hear him speak more often? Absolutely. Like I'd love to have that
course.
knowledge, but like his recovery is more important to me than that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think that is tough. Like the balance between, I think you had a good point. Like the balance between saying, okay, you had a stroke, we need to give you time to recover. We can't just ask you to immediately bounce back.
But it's untimely in an election.
The election's a month
Yeah.
away, less than a month away.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's, and it's interesting. It's like, because I'm wondering, I don't know if he's gonna win. We are one of the purplest, if not the purplest states
Purple,
in the
yeah.
nation. Like we're very purple, so I don't know if he's gonna win.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably prefer that he wins.
Me too.
However, that's just kind of tough because if he does win and there are more long-term effects from this that have not shown up yet, that seems like a bit of a tough situation for him
I
to be
think
in.
we let people that are on the brink of death run for office all the time.
Oh, that's a
and win.
good ass point.
Yeah. People that are pushing 79, 80, and no one says a word, but for like a condition that is
Wow.
not that aging is like within your control. I'm going to revise that statement because it's not. But I think what's important is that he's trying to work through it, and
Of
that
course.
after everything that's happened, he's still like, no, this is what I'm dedicated to. This is what I'm going to do. And I do understand the anxiety. I
Mhm.
think surrounding like this person that I'm putting my vote towards, this person that will act as my representative, I haven't heard them speak a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Like policies or positions or like cool little tweets that relate to the younger demographic are very, very, very planned and
Yeah.
poised. I like to hear people speak on a dime. Like I like to hear
Mhm.
questions responded to in real time.
Yeah.
Because every once in a while, if you're trying to cover something up, you'll slip up, especially when you're asked like immediately, and you'll say something
Yeah.
you didn't mean to say that gives everyone that's voting for you an immediate cue into how you actually think.
Yeah.
So like it is a little anxiety inducing to not have that, but I do trust Fetterman's character.
I do too. And honestly, as much as, like you mentioned with some of the tweets, as much as I think like the slam dunking on Twitter isn't helpful and that's not really how
It's
we
really
should approach
interesting.
politics, some of the tweets that he sent to Oz are just hilarious.
Have you also just like
Some of them were pretty
trying
funny.
to watch a YouTube video or like cable
Oh my-
TV
oh my
right
God.
now?
Listen,
Oh, it's all and the voice, Dr. Oz, John Fetterman. And I'm like, wow.
Oh my God. Listen, in a previous episode, I think I did like a 10-minute little rant about how much I hate those ads.
They're awful.
I hate that they're not skippable.
Never. They never are.
I would prefer Fetterman, but I still hate the ads. I hate all of the ads. Like, and not because like of the content. It's just that it's the same 5 ads
Correct.
over and over again. If I'm watching if I'm watching a podcast, like a longer video, there could be 5 ads in like an hour and a
gotta
half.
watch all
and
of them all
and
the
it's,
way
like,
through.
and 3 of them are just the same ad
Mhm.
over and over again. And so I hate them all. I can't wait for this election to be over so that I can just get normal ads on my videos
Mhm.
for like whatever it would be.
Another year.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, like I can't wait for it to be over. And especially like when we're in class and a teacher pull up a video
And it pops up right
and it
there,
rolls
yeah.
a Doug
That's happened to me,
Mastriano
like,
ad.
9 times.
Every time we see when we're watching YouTube, we just scream like election. We just scream it like really loudly because like you have to get into it somehow, I guess. Because otherwise, I just can't wait for it to be over. So then going back to Fetterman, I guess we sort of talked about this, but where do we draw the line for who is fit to serve? We have a very old president. we have a lot of people most people in Congress are just, and not that you can control how old you are, but term limits.
I have a nuanced take on this. Like, the idea of someone passing laws, passing legislation that is going to affect my life for the rest of forever, when they'll be gone in the next 2 or 3 years before they have to live to see the remnants of what they created, doesn't sit right with me.
I would agree.
Like,
I would agree.
Voting on things that will deeply and forever have like a hold on my life when you don't have to suffer the consequences of that is insane. But also democracy. I can't just be like, oh, you're too old to run for president.
Yeah.
It is discrimination. It's ageist. Is that what it's called? There's some word. Discrimination via age. And like those two philosophies like battle it out in my mind.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's one like concise and even answer, because my brain goes to like, oh, what are their stances? But that's an opinion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where I'm like, oh, I would be fine with a very progressive old person being in office, but like that negates my original point of like they're too old. There's going to be people that are on the opposite of me that are like, he put these things in place and then died, and I'm not happy with them. Yeah. Which means it still has to be genuine democracy. Like, it still has to be a voting system. I can't just regard it based on what they stand for. So the answer, I have no clue.
So do you think like, okay, so maybe we don't put in the you're too old to run clause, but maybe is there like an amount of time that you can serve?
Yeah.
Because we've had people in Congress for 30 years.
Supreme Court judges that last for the rest of their lives. Yeah.
That live to be 1,000 and they're just still around.
I don't understand how that like functions as representative, like, of the United States of America. Like, there are people that like let's take it back, like 4 years, we're coming up on it. People that voted for Trump in 2020 over these 4 years have gone through some deep regretful phases and have been like, if I could go back, I would change that decision, which is why in the next 4 years is a handy second election not second, but like another election every 4 years where you can revise your decisions, change your party, have grown and changed between those 4 years and been like, some of the choices that I made 4 years ago are not representative of the person I am now.
Or you can stick where you are.
But the Supreme Court, like highest court, just forever.
So, and I guess like to sort of, defend that current system, not that I'm really crazy, I don't really know if I feel a certain way about it, because I understand staying on there for a long time, it gives you experience that a younger person might not have, because if you've seen a lot of cases while you're on the Supreme Court, you would have knowledge that they might not have, and I could see that you have more time in law. So I understand from that perspective that not that it makes you smarter, but it definitely makes you more experienced than someone who's young that just jumped on the Supreme Court. But so then, would you prefer that like we have Supreme Court elections and that we elect the members of the Supreme Court every...
That is an extremely slippery slope. That kind of like...
Yeah, that is. It is.
For me, I'm not a fan of our system. I'll say that openly. I do not like it. But that, like, one tiny action such as that dismantles the whole thing. Yeah. And then you get into questions of, if we're changing this, like, why is this set up this way? And then you have an uneven structure between things. Like, appointments, I don't necessarily agree with the appointments that have been made to the Supreme Court. Some of them have been underqualified and put in by someone that was already biased. But the person that put them in that was already biased was voted for. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, you've accepted him, or the United States has voted him as that representative, which gives him the power to put in these, like...
Of course.
Things. And I say he, not because all presidents are men. I'm referring to a specific president.
You're referring to Donald
Trump. Yeah.
Right. Of course.
And, like, if we've voted him and that is the consensus that Donald Trump is the president, these duties and these appointments do fall to him.
Yeah, they do.
And that makes sense under that structure. Not that I agree with that structure, but to change one aspect of that just muddles everything up.
Yeah.
And I think that it should be done. Like, I'm not a fan of the system. I think it should be changed, but that's such a rough decision to make.
Yeah, where do you start?
Where do you start?
That's one thing when I see a lot of people that think like, oh, we need a new system, we need something new. I don't necessarily disagree with them, but I'm thinking like, who are we?
Who are
to
we to
think
make
that
that
we
choice?
could, and to think that we could do better.
I can sit here and we can have these political discussions as much as we want. If someone put me in the room where it happens, and they were like, lay out your plan, I'd be stuck.
I would have no idea.
I'd be stuck.
That's why I always, and that's why I try to lead with like I don't know anything really. And if we're going to try to change the system, we got to be pretty sure that we're going to be able to build something better, because that's a slippery slope, redoing everything.
Yeah, but I also think that leaves us stuck. Like, I think that's a lot of people's opinions.
I agree.
That are like, is capitalism fundamentally broken? Yes. But is there the potential for things to get worse if we start messing around with it?
Oh, yeah.
Also, yes. But there's also the potential for things to get better. But that fear of being in an even more strenuous situation than we already are is going to keep people from making any of these changes.
And plus that transition of a system, there's like so many layers. Like, it leaves you potentially vulnerable to foreign influence. There's definitely people out there. There are definitely countries out there that would not mind us being in a weaker situation than we are now. So, I think that's definitely a tough part.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I think you're right. Like, we could get stuck being
in fear.
afraid.
Yeah.
To change it. Yeah.
I
That's a
think
good point.
a better life is possible. Like,
Mm-hmm.
our current system is inhumane. Working 40 plus hours every week with, like, if you're lucky, 2 days off, no universal health care. It's not great. It's not. I heard a story like about a guy who he's diabetic and he had to pay for his insulin, but he couldn't.
Yeah.
He could not. And these are little pockets of like specialized circumstances that you really don't think about because you don't deal with it.
Yeah.
But like insulin for a vial
is ridiculously expensive.
It's insane.
And my dad's diabetic. Insulin's ridiculously expensive.
To me, that makes no sense.
Yeah,
where
I
like
agree.
not that it's like expensive, but like my mother is a doctor. My mother went to medical school. My mother's a surgeon. We've talked about this extensively. The production cost of insulin is low.
It's pretty low.
It's about $3 per vial,
Mm-hmm.
and then they turn around, they upsell it for $400, $500 for
Yeah.
someone that needs it to survive.
Yeah,
Like, there has to be a better way than that.
I agree. But do you think we should be paying for healthcare for the entire universe?
No.
That
No.
was an Andrew Schultz bit. He was like, "What do you think about universal healthcare?" And he goes, "I don't like it." Why? And he goes, "Because we shouldn't pay healthcare for the entire universe. Let's take care of America."
Because that's what that means, yeah.
No, I'm
But
kidding.
like,
No, I do see your point though. I definitely agree. There are definitely some.
there are things that shouldn't have to be
Yeah.
like, what's the word? Capitalist. Healthcare should not be capitalist. Your desire to stay alive, like to be, if people that are diabetic do not get insulin, they will die. There's no working
That's
around
it.
that.
Yeah.
There's that's
how it
it's
is.
one after the other.
Mm-hmm.
And to finish that story, I mean, he had a wedding. He was marrying his fiance, and he, without telling her, he didn't want to skimp on the prices. He didn't want to like. I'm sure he felt a little bit of like embarrassment of not being able to get out of that situation where.
Yeah.
She's like, I want this, and I would love to do this for my wedding, and he wants to provide her with those things, but he has this cost every like 2 weeks that's eating away at him $500 every time. So what he did is he went for bootleg insulin.
Oh, jeez.
Like, you order it off of these sites on like, not the dark web, but not the normal internet, because
Yeah, you
it's
get it
it's
from a third
illegal
par-
it's illegal to produce and distribute without being like.
Licensed.
Yeah, correct. So, but he was like, this is what I got to do to make ends meet. And he died using back alley insulin. And like, that to me is just, it's terrible that you can't like begin your life with the love of your life because you have something that you need to survive
And it's
tearing a
not
hole in
being-
your pocket.
Yeah, I agree. And so I guess what I'm curious of, because I'm not against universal health care. I'm just curious as to how, like, do we apply that to just everything in healthcare, or are there some things that you still got to pay for?
I think so.
Not that there's a
In
concrete
therapy, no, but like
answer.
the idea of a copay doesn't like scare me. Like
Right.
if you're involved in like therapy in the United States, you pay about $20 for a session rather than like the entirety of what the therapist is paid.
Right.
And then you get to physical medical situations and you're like, "Oh, I broke my finger." And they're like, "We'll fix it for about $5,000."
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Hospitals are wild.
And then you have to get into the fact that like a lot of people in America are not insured. Like they do not have health insurance.
No.
Their job doesn't provide it, and they don't have the money to like commit to that cost every month for the rest of their lives. And that bill for your broken finger that would be $5,000 with insurance is suddenly $10,000 because you don't have it. And
Yeah,
then
it's
there's
crazy.
discrimination between insurance that you have. Like America's biggest insurance provider is Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Yeah.
The benefits that you get from having that provider can take that difference from, oh, you're only paying $500 to someone else that uses like a different provider.
UPMC.
Is suddenly another $500 on top of that. That doesn't
Yeah.
make sense to me.
That doesn't make
Like-
sense either. Do you think? Because actually, we actually had Trevor Fitzsimmons on the show, and the file got corrupted. I'm sorry, Trevor. We're gonna have you back on the show sometime. But we were talking to him. Actually, I don't think it was during the episode. But I like Trevor. He's a cool guy.
Yeah, Trevor's
And-
our recording secretary.
And he was like, why can't we do something like Germany does? Like when you're born, everybody gets universal health care.
Mhm.
If you'd like to, you can pay for better service.
I disagree.
You don't like that?
No, I do not.
See, I don't know if that
The
would
id-
be entirely. I guess because people could pay for.
Better health. Like
Eh.
that leaves us right back to where we are. That's the same as now. Like we have our health care and we deal with it in terms of insurance. Do you think that the health care we get and the health care someone like Elon Musk gets are the same caliber?
Probably not.
No.
If I had to guess.
Diseases that would kill us for people that are a part of the 1% are fixed instantly. And for me,
Yeah.
having more money to pay for better health care gets you right back into that hierarchical structure of who deserves health care. Like,
Isn't that?
I don't
always-
think the poorer you are, the less you deserve to live.
I agree, but isn't that hierarchy always going to happen? Like, isn't it pretty difficult to prevent that? Because in any system, you still have, to an extent, a top 1% controlling 99% of the resources
Absolutely.
in any system. It doesn't matter what you want to pick. So is it even possible to eliminate that hierarchy from happening?
Eliminate, no, but bump it up so that, like, not
close the
premium,
gap.
but like not close it, because as you said, like there's no way to stop these people. There's
Yeah.
always going to be
There's always going to be those
new
people.
things that they can get, new technology that makes them stronger, better,
Yeah.
more longevity for how long they live.
Mhm.
But I'd say the problem, unless we're going to dismantle the whole system, then we could change
Well,
that. But that's
I'm
we're on a different topic.
I'm
right
in
now.
the skeptical boat on
Yeah.
that one. I am. I'll be honest.
The baseline, like where we are as normal people that
Yeah.
get healthcare, is low. Like
Mhm.
if we eliminate the fact that a broken finger will cost you $5,000 and make all of that covered, then the 1% getting extraordinary health care would feel a lot less daunting when you know at least your basic needs are covered. That you won't have to pay $500 for insulin. Like at least you will be at the basis of survival, because right now we're functioning way under that.
Okay, I can see that point. Yeah. I just, whenever Trevor first mentioned that to me, I was like, oh, I guess that doesn't. And I don't really. I mean, I haven't ever been to Germany, so I don't really know
neither.
how that system actually functions. I would love to go someday, but I haven't been yet. So,
Mhm.
but okay. So with Pennsylvania having, without a doubt, the funniest Senate race possibly in the history of Senate races, the GOP put up Dr. Oz to run. And with Trump showing that you can have success in politics when you're outside the establishment, do you think that that is a potential strategy that Democrats could copy in 2024?
Could, yes. Should, no. Absolutely not. Yeah, no, it's for me it's a joke. it's a joke to put up these people that are like, it goes back to the question we talked about, who's fit to serve. Putting up these very, very underqualified people. Yeah, it sure shows that anyone can make it. But once they get in these rooms, these underqualified people are going to prove to you very, very quickly that they're underqualified. And if you get into a race of putting up the most controversial candidate you can, then by the time you get out of the novelty of it, and you look at your two options, you're like, oh, fuck. Like, these are the people that I've chosen. There's nothing I can do about that. These are my options. I think it's, I don't know. I see a lot of Ben Carson situation in Dr. Oz and putting up someone that is
I remember that guy.
specialized in another area up for politics just because we can. It's not cute to me. It's not like funny to me. It's not like, I don't know. I get out of the let's put up the underdog when the underdog has done none of the work to get out from that position.
Yeah, I guess I feel that, to be honest. I was like completely serious when I asked that question because I'm looking at 2024 and Trump's going to run.
Yeah, absolutely.
If he doesn't run, I don't know what I'll do. Like, I'll be shocked. I'll be floored if he does not run. He's going to run. He's going to pick somebody for his VP. I see it very possible that DeSantis is going to hop on his VP because DeSantis isn't going to challenge him in the primary. DeSantis is probably the only one that could survive getting beaten in the primary because he's so popular in Florida. He can just go back to being governor. But I just see like a Trump DeSantis card in 2024 or somebody else. And who do the Democrats have? Like, who? Like, are you going to run Joe Biden? You're trying to lose. They're trying to lose if they do that.
Yeah, we're lacking.
Tulsi Gabbard. Y'all lost Tulsi. We lost Tulsi Gabbard. We lost Yang. We lost not that we lost Bernie, but the Democratic Party. Huh?
He's always been an independent.
Yeah, but he runs through the Democratic Party, but they don't like him for whatever reason.
Failed him so many times. That was my ideal outcome.
And so I'm thinking like, okay, y'all have Pete Buttigieg, right?
Beto
That's
O'Rourke.
that's my. Beto couldn't even win in Texas. Beto's not. So everyone I mention, I'm just like, just kind of like, eh.
Like, I understand the desire for like a big name,
and
like,
that was my only thought process, right? Is that like, okay, I think you have to ditto Trump's strategy. I think you got to pick someone outside the establishment that is likable for a lot of people. Like, I brought up the example, like whenever I sent you the questions, like Matthew McConaughey has been a name that's thrown around as like someone that could run. Matthew McConaughey's a pretty moderate guy. He seems pretty reasonable. A lot of people like him. He seems to have some pretty reasonable opinions, and he seems to be relatively open-minded. And so, like, why couldn't they put him up? Like, maybe he doesn't know how to lead, but you could put the right people around you that know what they're doing, and they can guide you. I mean, I think, like, Trump did that. Like, Trump didn't know how to lead. I think Trump knew how to put the right people around him, or
I disagree.
some of the right people around him. I mean, he was the one that put Fauci up, right? Like, now I'm not saying Trump is the example because Trump didn't know how to lead, but I'm saying, like, if you could get a person like that that knew how to put the right people around them, why couldn't they? Because you got to beat Trump in 2024 somehow.
There has to be, I don't know, the standard of putting the right people around you would apply to someone that's less, in my opinion, for Trump, pompous. Trump is very, I'm the best. I can do it.
Yeah.
I can do it myself. Like, I'll have these people around me, and I will put them in my like chambers of space, but that doesn't mean I'm going to listen to the very, very real things they have to say. So I think if we're going with an outside, like random, I don't know who you're thinking of when you think of like bringing in an outsider, but
I don't know.
That person would have to be receptive to that kind of criticism, to that kind of listening, and Trump was not.
Maybe like The Rock.
Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Yeah. Here's the thing, right? Like, if you're gonna talk about someone that is like, I mean, I don't think we've had not that you need to be like physically imposing, not that that's really a part of the job description,
but he is scary as fuck. Yeah.
He's a big dude, and he's got and I don't know. I have no experience in politics. This might be the goofiest idea that I've ever had. It probably is. But I'm just thinking, like, who do the Democrats have?
Let me propose something to you.
Okay, I'm here.
So I have it, but I hate social media. I hate social media. I hate cable TV. I hate Facebook. Like all these things where.
Yep.
And most of all, I don't want to say I hate them because they've done nothing wrong. I hate the concept of the Kardashians. I agree. I hate that we as a society have real issues going on, and we say, "Oh, let's find out what these 5 very, very pretty, very, very rich people are up to."
I apply that to all celebrities. Like, why do we care?
So what makes Donald Trump a movie star and television star and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson different than like us following celebrities? Putting them up for the presidential race is just amplifying the sense of, oh my God, look at these cool people. Let's watch them battle it out.
I disagree on that with Trump. I think that Trump was more than just a celebrity.
In what regard?
Well, when you look at like why, and you could come up with probably 100 reasons of why he was elected. That list could be pretty lengthy. But yeah, he was a celebrity. Yeah, he was someone sort of outside the establishment that came in to run. But I think that after he got started, he became something more than just that reality TV star. Mm-hmm. This country was ready to offer us Clinton versus Bush again. And then Trump comes along, calls out the bullshit, not his own, mind you, but he called out the bullshit. He stuck the middle finger up to the establishment. He said, look, these people don't care about you. They've been leaving you behind. They're running away with the future and all the money. I'm going to give you an alternative future. And people jumped on it.
Of course.
Because the country was ready to offer us Jeb Bush versus Hillary. It felt good watching Trump pick apart Jeb Bush on stage a little bit. Like he went off on Jeb Bush, and it felt kind of good because get these people out of here.
The way that I see this, because this is why I think a lot of people voted for Trump in 2020, is there's your alarm. The establishment, we'll go with the word establishment, fucks us over every time.
Oh, yeah.
Every single time. But they've done it in such a specific way that they lean over to someone that is a Republican and they say, hey, you know who's fucking your life up? The Democrats. And then they lean over to the Democrats and they're like, hey, you know who's fucking your life up? The Republicans.
Yeah.
And they watch that all unfold while the two people that are much, much closer in relation than anyone up higher fight each other for the issues that are being put onto them by everyone else.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I
then they're like,
said...
they put black people against white people, gay people against straight people,
mm-hmm.
Republicans against Democrats. Because if all of these people unified and realized, hey, if we banded together and quite literally obliterated the 1% and destroyed the entire system, they wouldn't be able to stop us. But
Probably,
because they have these little sectors of division where
Yeah.
they're like, oh, you can't work with that guy. He's a liberal.
Yeah,
Why would you want to get together with him? Or why would you want to talk to this person? It's that easy, and that's what keeps us from moving forward. So, there are a lot of people that jumped on the Trump train because Trump was offering something different. And then 4 years later, they were like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like, what now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And I definitely think that, I have sort of said that it's just two wings of the same bird.
It is.
Left wing, they're just they're the same people. I am a believer in the extreme horseshoe theory, that the political extremes are just the same people that are just temperamentally different at a personality level. It's interesting.
That's all the two-party system offers.
If you look at the foundation of Bernie's movement and the Trump's movement. No, hear me out. I'm not saying that they want the same things. Obviously, I'm not saying they're the same. But what did Bernie say? It's the system that is keeping you down. It is the people in power that are keeping you down. It's capitalism. It's the way that we've been running things. It's the healthcare. It's the billionaires, right? Trump was saying the same thing, but accusing different people of the problem. So I'm not saying that they're identical, but at the base of it, it was telling people that the system that is in place is oppressing you, and let's fix it. They had
But with different methods.
different methods, because I think that people, for the most part, want the same things. People want less crime. People want better education. People want better healthcare. We have different opinions on how we get there.
But who do you elect to make that happen?
I do not know.
There have been different swings. I'm a leftist. I'm a
Mhm.
leftist. Like, I'm a full leftist, which makes me vote for Democrats, but it doesn't
Mhm.
make me a Democrat. Do you know what I mean?
It's the closest thing that
It's the
represents
closest
you.
I can get,
Mhm.
and I always hope for when they elect a Democrat, they get people that are more left-leaning, so I can feel comfortable. Like Bernie
Right.
would have made me the most comfortable out of anyone, but a little too far for the general
For the
public.
yeah.
So, God, where was I going? What was I going to say? Oh, because of that, I am able to pick out what I consider conservatives' problems, and it's that they've been failed, like several times.
Yeah.
Like, and this has happened years. Like, we've shifted from a Democratic president to a Republican to a Democrat to a Republican,
Mhm.
and the same issues stick for both parties.
Yep.
So you get to a point where you're like, oh, I voted for a Republican. It didn't work out. I'm going to vote blue next time. And then you vote blue. Not shit changes. And you're
Yeah.
like, well, then what are my options here?
Yeah. Even though it is actually interesting, I do agree. Like the same problems kind of stick around,
Mhm.
but now the focus has been shifted to different issues. Even
Correct.
like Trump, like whenever Trump sort of took over the conservative movement, there was a whole new set of problems that they shifted over to. Like I remember when I was younger, the conservative movement was all about taxes. It was all about reducing the national budget. It was all about reduced government spending. And then Trump came along, and it sort of shifted over to. And I guess earlier on, the conservative movement was maybe I don't remember. I remember hearing like some like anti-war stuff. Maybe that's sort of stayed. I don't really know, but now it feels like with the conservative movement, it's shifted to like the social issues. They've sort of shifted,
Mhm.
but the problems are still there.
Yes,
The
they are.
national debt's still way too big, and so all that stuff. So I agree. That's tough. I don't know how you elect. I guess also just quickly, like for the people that are listening that might not really know, like my parents, for example, I think like could you explain leftism briefly? Not to put you on the spot.
No,
but,
no,
like,
you're good.
to the best of your abilities.
My philosophy on it, my personal philosophy, and again, I don't claim to know everything
Of course.
there is to know about socialism, communism, different forms of leftism, but the radical idea that life should not be hard. That's how I perceive
Mhm.
it. And to some people, that is very, very, very hard to grasp. I think
Mhm.
there's a demographic of people that have had it extremely hard throughout life,
Mhm.
and that puts them in the mindset of like, I'm surviving because I pulled myself up and I did the things that I needed to do
Mhm.
to make sure I was able to live. And therefore, I think that everybody should be able to pull themselves up, get into the grind mindset, work until they can't anymore to forge a life for themselves. And my idea is that you should not have to do that. Like,
Mhm.
the idea that a human being's fundamental purpose in this life is to create financial stability for themselves is crazy.
Mhm.
I don't think that's what we should be focused on. I think that there is a way to eliminate what I think is the biggest problem, which is greed. And
Mhm.
the way that you can eliminate people going, oh, I need more, I need a better house, I need a better car, is by giving everyone the basics. Like,
Mhm.
there's no reason that there are people with about 5 or 6 different McMansions around America, while I can walk out the street right now and run into someone that doesn't have a house at all,
Mhm.
that is walking around and sleeping in a different place every night. There needs to be a basis for human life where we prioritize human life over, I don't know what you would call it.
Material things.
Exactly. And for me, there's a system that works better than our current capitalist system that thrives on our human sense of greed and like, I need to be doing better, I need to be doing this.
Mhm.
Once they get us into that mindset, they work us to death
Mhm.
every time, consistently. For everyone, for conservatives, for liberals, for every party across America, what's happening is we're being worked to death. And I think that there is a utopia, and in my opinion, a leftist environment where that can be eliminated.
So if you don't mind, not like a little bit of pushback, but I guess like, so you mentioned like the idea that life shouldn't be hard. Now, do you think that, like, so you said like people shouldn't have to like pull themselves up by the bootstraps and like go through all that and work their whole life to get financial security. I think there definitely is merit to the idea that humans should not be on this earth to secure financial security. I think that there's definitely more to life than that, and a lot of people are stuck in that. I agree. But do you think that like a little bit of struggle, because I think a little bit of struggle is good, like
Why?
for a person. So for example, like building discipline, being mentally, not even physically strong, but being mentally strong, like being able to do hard things whenever you don't necessarily have to, because then whenever life hits you with a hard time, it doesn't take you out. Like the idea of, I don't know, like, I guess is really my point, I guess. Like, you know, having that discipline to be able to do something that is hard now so that you're prepared for what life throws at you, I guess.
My response to that would be, like, I know your mindset. Hold on, I have an ear itch. I'm going to scratch it.
That's all right.
I don't know how that sounds, but, like...
I don't
the
think it
headphones.
picked up.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit, but that's okay.
The mindset that you're in right now is one related to the system we are currently in, to where you are expecting, it's in my opinion, it's a kind of like trauma to the shit you've been put through, like living in America at this point in time. Is your thought is no matter how good things are, there's going to be a time when shit falls through, and I'm in a hard situation. I have to pull myself up. My philosophy would be that hard time that you're alluding to, that you would need the discipline for, to be able to work, to be able to like have a sense of drive, should never come.
What about in war?
I don't believe in war.
You don't believe in war?
I do not believe in war.
But
no.
humans certainly do.
Yes, they do.
And it's been a part of our
right?
history. So that's what I mean. Like, so I don't know. Like, let's say, God forbid, World War III happens, and I get drafted. I don't want to go fight.
Also, an issue that we should talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, I
found out very recently that I don't know why this has never like come across, but I was talking to my roommate, and my roommate was filling out his FAFSA, and I was filling out my FAFSA. And I was like, okay, I'm done. And he was like, oh, I have to sign up for the draft.
Mandatory service, yeah.
I have to sign up for the draft. And I was like, well, yeah, you have to sign up for the draft, but what does that have to do with the conversation we're having right now? And he was like, oh, we're not eligible for, like, funding for school, like, FAFSA, like, loans, like, federal school loans, unless you sign up for the draft.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't submit that paperwork, if you're not eligible, if you haven't at least tried, they won't give you anything. And I was like, okay, that's dystopian and like scary as hell. Has this always been a thing? And he's like, for as long as I've been in college, absolutely. Yeah,
I had to sign up for the draft when I did FAFSA.
Horrible.
It is. I mean, from a perspective, I guess it is. Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I guess I disagree with you. I think that war is like an inevitable thing. I think that no matter what you do, no matter what system you're in, human beings are going to be greedy. People that are in, like, okay, maybe the bottom 99% of people aren't going to be greedy enough to go start a war.
No, I hear this is why we get to where we are.
But the people that are in power are always going to want more stuff. They're always going to want to expand. So if you have war, I think that it shouldn't be a thing, but it's going to be, and I guess like being prepared for that.
I don't think we loosen on the preparation, but I think I wrote an article about this my freshman year about why I think the U.S. military is predatory, why I think they go into low-income high schools and sit down and they're like, hey, we've got keychains and we've got waivers and we've got things for you, very, very poor teenage boy that needs money.
100%.
Yeah. They come in and they're like, we'll pay for your college. We'll pay for your housing. We'll make sure your family's secure. When you get out, you can go to college. You can have an education. That's how they rope people in. Right?
Absolutely.
And in my opinion, like, I'm not even going to say in my opinion, it's predatory. Like, you're asking they're not, it's not limited to boys, but it is majority boys.
It
like
is,
I've done
yeah.
my research on this.
It is, yeah.
You go into young impressionable boys and you promise them, because they've had less things in life, that you can make their life better, and then you send them off to the system. That's not voluntary. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, the argument is that, oh, you knew what you were getting into when you signed up for the military. That is not true. Not at all whatsoever. They paint a very nice picture of what it's like to serve.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you actually get there, it's a lot different. And then you're locked in. You don't just get to, like, walk away.
Yeah, you have to
whenever
stay in
you
there
want
for
to.
like X number of years
Mhm.
before you can leave. Yeah.
And in my opinion, if you have to use those tactics, if you have to do those things, maybe there's a different way. Like,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of, you're correct, there will always be people, if we go into our perfect utopia of a
Mhm.
society, there's going to be other countries that are like, okay, they're weak. It's time to go in and take literally everything we want.
Yeah.
But I think there's a way, in terms of, it's a lot easier to want to fight for a country that fights for you.
Absolutely.
So instead of, like, the draft, I don't like it. I really don't like it. But I see that it's preparation for things that could go wrong in the future.
Yeah.
But if you are a country that is taking care of its people, that has their basic human rights across the board, that has their, like, necessities to live covered, they're going to be like, oh, I'd like to fight for my country. Oh, I'd like to keep this preserved as well as I can.
Interesting. Okay. I mean, I could see some merit to that. Absolutely. I mean, the military pipeline from high schools to military,
Disgusting.
absolutely real.
Vile.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I'm definitely not a fan. I mean, I tried to get recruited like 5 times in high school. I did not, but they tried.
Mm-hmm.
I knew like tons of kids, and I think I had like 4 or 5 kids in my class that went into the military, and some of them did it for the money.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them did it because they wanted to serve. I have respect for the people that want to serve. The people that do it for the money, I mean, they're doing, like, they feel like that's maybe their
That's
only
what they
option.
could, yeah.
And that is unfortunate.
But
Yeah,
what
I don't
happens
know.
after is, I want you to, like, this country has a very good facade of, we care about our veterans, we care about the people that have served.
Oh, yeah.
And then
no,
as soon as they get
mm-mm.
out here,
Mhm.
no support, especially for mental health. Especially
Yeah.
for mental health.
Yeah, yeah. I absolutely agree. Yeah.
The people that you'll meet, like unhoused people in the street, 90% of the time are going to be vets, because they promise you a lot of these, like, oh, we care about you. Like, once you're back, we're going to take care of you entirely. Don't worry about it. And then they do nothing of the sort. So
Mhm.
you get recruited early on. You join and you're like, oh, this is nothing like what I expected, and I'm forced to be here for however amount of time, but at least I'll get these benefits when I get out that will make all of this worth it. And then you get out,
There's
nothing
no
of the sort.
benefits, yeah. Yeah. No, I absolutely think that we should be taking care. I mean, those people shouldn't have to, like, if those people served, especially if you were in active duty, like, you shouldn't have to, like, pay for anything.
No.
Like I definitely agree with that. And I think the treatment of veterans
But then again, no one
here,
should. Go ahead.
I don't know if here's the thing. So I guess I'll give a little pushback. Like, I don't believe that the utopia that you're speaking of, like, it sounds great, but I don't necessarily know if it's possible. Like, I don't know if it exists. I think that struggle has shaped the human story since the beginning. Like, even though war was something that we created, like, that was a war between us, there have been those struggles constantly, and I think that that's definitely shaped, like, that's shaped us as people, and that definitely shaped our grandparents, like, grandparents who, like, again, I keep going back to war, which is, like, that's the main struggle that, like, the 20th century was sort of shaped by. But I think that even if you couldn't have war anymore, I think that people should still do things that are hard.
I agree. I just don't think those things that are hard should have to be things like eating or having a house to live in or clothes to sleep in.
From that,
Yeah.
Okay, so then to take it back, I guess maybe I didn't articulate my position clear enough then. From your perspective, like, should people have to struggle to get their basic needs met?
No.
Probably, I don't think so. If I thought about it, maybe I could, like, do the devil's advocate thing in my head, and maybe I could like
The devil
you
has
know,
enough advocates. No need to argue that people don't have
That's
that
a good
shouldn't
point.
have basic human.
But I guess I meant
necessities.
like, it's like I go to the gym. I go to the gym.
What
I
a
try
great
to
transition that was.
I try to. No, I'm saying like I try to, but like I try to go because like I feel like whenever I leave, I feel better like mentally because like okay,
Scientifically proven that
at
you
least I
feel better
did something with my
mentally, yeah.
day. Like I'm getting stronger. Like and I don't necessarily want to go some days, but you got to get up and you got to go because like I've committed to that. So I think like in that perspective, like taking on responsibility, doing stuff like that is difficult is good for you. Like I think it's
agree.
good for my mental health. Like it's good for me to take on that kind of stuff.
Forge a society. I think what's that word? Ooh. What people miss when they hear the word leftist is that we want everyone to be frolicking around in a forest, eating berries and doing no type of anything. When the actuality is if you want these basic necessities like met, everyone has to be committed to doing a job to keep it functioning. There has to be food production. There has to be medical professionals. There has to be everything we have now. But how would I describe this? Like, let's say we go to this, your basic needs are met. Someone still has to grow the food.
Yeah.
Someone still has to be the doctor. Someone still has to do this. And I think that can give you a sense of like drive and purpose and struggle.
Absolutely.
Some days are
Yeah.
going to be harder than others
Of
in
course.
this field. And you're going to have like your own personal development introspection where
Mhm.
you're like, oh, I don't know if I can do this today. And the difference is you're not pushing yourself to get out of bed that day to make the money to survive. You're pushing yourself for the betterment of the society that you live in.
Okay, so from that perspective, that's probably extremely difficult to create, I think. But if there was a way, so in that case, then like, are you down with like AI automating a lot of those jobs, or are you against that stuff? You still think that people should be working
Listen.
those?
Yes. This is apart from like political stance at all. AI scares me a little
Oh
bit.
my god, I'm terrified.
I'm terrified there was
of it.
a story I read where two scientists created like two AI bots that could simulate human conversation, and they were very proud of the results. And like the cool thing about AI is they get smarter, like they grow and they learn
With machine learning.
yeah, patterns of speech and like the proper things to say in certain situations. And then a few months later, those two AI bots started talking to each other in a language they had created themselves
Oh no.
that these scientists could not decipher. And they would do this between regular conversation. There would be like, oh, you know, how was your day? And then a bunch of like decoded text that you can't read through. And they shut them down because you have
Good.
no idea what the hell these robots are saying. And I don't know, stuff like that scares me. But also, like, I think about this all the time. Okay. As time goes on, this is my big concept. As time goes on, us, like me, I consider myself very progressive, very left-leaning. As time goes on, just by like the way the world advances, I'm going to be thought of as conservative once we get to a certain point in the future.
If the politics keep moving.
Not politics, just like technological advancements. Like what happens when my daughter brings home her boyfriend and her boyfriend is a robot and I go, no.
Bruh.
I go, no, absolutely not. Get that bag of bolts out of my house.
Oh,
and
then
she goes,
you're-
that's a slur.
and then
you
you're-
can't say that to him. And I go, but he's not a person. Then
Then you're bigoted from her perspective.
Exactly.
Gotcha,
and that's going to
gotcha.
keep going
Yeah.
no matter how, like, and I think that's how a lot of people feel about it, like, behind us, like our grandparents that are like, but I was so progressive when things first started happening.
Yeah.
Like civil rights movements and stuff like that. And now that I'm not okay with certain, like, newer ideologies, I'm the asshole.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to happen because I try to make myself comfortable with the idea of my child dating a robot. And I'm like, no.
I'm not even gonna lie. I've never even. I mean, that's that game Detroit Become Human. That's that game.
I
Apparently,
love that game.
I didn't play it.
I haven't thought about that for a very long time.
I downloaded it because it was like I downloaded it and then I didn't play it. Maybe over a break I'll play it. Maybe
There's
I will.
about 300 different endings. I played it so many times
it's
through.
Probably like I probably don't have time, but I would
You
love
don't.
to.
I'm gonna be honest.
I'm
with
not
you.
gonna do every ending, but I would love
Yeah.
to try. But I've never even thought about my kid dating a robot. Wow.
Or like,
That's I mean, I'll be
when-
honest. I don't think that's within our lifetime.
I don't know about all that.
I know that Elon released the Tesla bot, and like I get that AI is moving, but within
You
like
would
my
be
within
surprised.
like my children's lifetime, like 20 maybe. That's
It-
so
I
crazy.
think it's possible.
Mm-mm.
Or like,
Mm-mm.
let's
No,
say
thank you.
Elon makes. I think there's going to be a time, like I couldn't tell you how far it is, but where the things that we think of as impossible are common practice. Like, if you went to someone 200 years ago and they were like, "Oh, I'm in Maryland and I need to go to California," and we were like, "Hop on a plane," they'd be like, "What the fuck are you talking about? What's a plane?" And then we show them that there is this big thing made of metal that can fly through the sky, and
Yeah.
you can be in a different part of the country in 5 hours. They would be baffled, which is why I think when we get a little further, and I do think like it's possible that it's in our lifetime, that things where I'm like, I wish I could go to the moon, and they're like, hop on the moon shuttle, go to the moon. What are you talking about? Like, we
Mhm.
do that all the time. And so what happens if we get to the moon and we discover that aliens are real and we bring them back down? And then your daughter goes, "This is my boyfriend. He's from Mars."
Oh no.
What do you do? What do you say?
Well, be accepting of a. Now
It's easy to say that.
quick side question: do we if are we would we be allowed to call them Martians if they're from Mars?
I could not tell you what the proper term for a person from Mars is.
I guess whatever they identify, but they wouldn't say they're Martians. Oh no, maybe they would.
I mean, that's a name that we made up for them.
Yeah,
They might have their whole own civilization.
Wouldn't it be
up
crazy if
there.
it was the same
No.
thing? Well, yo, I saw a post on them. It's kind of wild. It was like, yo, what if aliens show up but they look just like we do?
Yeah, I was.
That would be.
It's an
crazy.
idea that the civilizations that we think are like on these different planets are exactly like us.
Well, they are made of the same elements
Yeah,
that we're
and
made
they
of.
sit there and they go,
they-
"Do you think there's people on Earth?" Well, we're sitting here
They
and
don't-
we're like,
if
"Are
they
there
if
people
they know
on
about
Mars?"
if they know about Earth?
See, you're under the impression that we are the smartest out of all the
No,
planets in
no,
the solar system.
I'm just saying like they could be so far away they don't know that we're.
Oh, you're
here.
talking about different than our solar system, like
Oh, yeah.
outside of.
No,
that's too big for me.
Intelligent life in this. Like I actually took a class about it last semester. There
Mhm.
was like it.
Oh, the one that's like, "Are we alone?"
Yes,
or whatever.
yes,
Yeah.
that professor is actually coming on the podcast in a
Nice.
couple weeks. He's the man. But we kind of did the research and like not that we knew everything, but like I don't really know about like intelligent life as in like from our perspective, like even if they were still in the Stone Age, like I don't know if they're out there. I don't
I
think the
think they're out
conditions
there.
are right.
And I think it's a coin flip for me on whether
On
they're so far
Mars.
behind us or whether
Right.
they're so far like are they have we not had contact because they're stuck in the Stone Age and they can't contact us, or have we not had contact because they're light years ahead of us and think we're not worth the time?
That was something he went over in the class, and I think that's actually there's that scientist, Michio Kaku. He's like you know who that guy is?
I do not.
Okay, so he's a scientist that like kind of specializes in like civilization types and like studying like extraterrestrial life, like if it's out there. And it's the concept of like there's different types of civilizations. Like I don't remember what the numbers are and what they correlate to, but we're like in the middle. I think we're like a type 2 where we can look out into the cosmos and like see what's out there, but we can't go.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the type 3 that's like they could be here and they just have some way of like being in our presence and we can't perceive it. That's the idea. Is like they could be so advanced that
They're watching
they-
us right now and we can't.
exactly, and we would just have no idea. It's kind of the idea. I think it's kind of the idea of like, does an ant know that its buddy got stomped on by a human? Like they're so small, can they perceive us? Like we're so big, do they even know what we are? It's kind. That's
Or
kind
are
of
we
the
just
idea.
their like their nightmares?
Or are we? Or is it just like, do they just not even perceive? Like, oh no, Johnny like fell off a cliff and died, but he actually got stomped on.
I
It's
think
like,
it's
kind of that idea.
more likely that like they've just accepted it as like a daily fact. Like it happens so often to ants that within ant civilizations they're like, okay, this is where you'll eat, this is where you'll sleep, and also sometimes a random large object will fall out of the sky and kill you, and that's okay.
But that's if their brains can even like
Comprehend that.
comprehend
Yeah.
that concept. But if they can, maybe that's what it is.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the idea that like there could be aliens in the solar system.
That applies. I just realized that applies to us.
Absolutely.
Like, in terms of death, when we're like, at the end of like your 80 years, you die. And then the way we are to ants, there's someone above us that's like, you don't have to. Something kills you. The reason you die at age 80 is because something much bigger than you that you can't perceive kills you.
That's
I don't
want
to think about that right now.
Oh, no.
I don't want to. That's so meta. No.
Moving on.
Going to send me into a crisis.
That's crazy.
At noon.
I never really thought of it like that, but that's kind of... Okay, let's move away from this general politics ideology thing. It was fun. It
was great.
That.
Yeah,
but
I had a good time.
Let's move on. What are your thoughts on the recent chronicles of Kanye in the news?
I think he's an asshole. I think he's just a dick. And I think it's not entirely his fault. I think he has the resources. Like, we all know it's a mental health crisis. Kanye has not been taking his meds. That's a verifiable fact.
Yeah.
And people are like, he has all the resources. He has all the tools. Like, he could get help whenever he wants to. And I'm like, but he's the mentally ill one. It should not be on. Like, you really think he's going to take a break from his manic episode and be like, I should go get help? No.
Mm-mm.
But the people that are around him, like the Kardashians, kind of perpetuate it. They kind of, like, live on it. It's their, like, they love a good social media scandal.
Yeah.
And it's not limited to them, but, like, at any point back when she was his wife, she could have been like, hey, you're getting help. Like, she has the tools, she has the money, she has the resources.
They have
she's
all
also,
the money.
She's also his wife. The person that when you need to be committed without your consent, the person that signs the papers would be Kim Kardashian. And I think she could have done that at any point in time and saved us all of this, like, that we're going through. Yeah. Of him saying things that are offensive to black women, to Jewish people. Like, we could have gotten him the help he needed much earlier.
So and I think it started with the picture with Candace Owens at the fashion show with the White Lives Matter T-shirt.
That was the one that was recently.
That's what started it.
That wasn't Candace Owens. That was
before. That wasn't Candace. I thought it was
Candace Owens.
No,
Candace Owens made a comment about it because she liked it or whatever. But the person that was in the picture was Lauryn Hill's daughter. And if you know who Lauryn Hill is, that makes it so much more
worse.
Sense, 'cause it makes it worse.
Right. It does make sense though, because he'll
always go for controversy, and Lauryn Hill, one of the most black empowered women, in my opinion, on the planet. Yeah. To make her daughter wear that shirt is the controversy that. No, I'm sure she did it willingly. Yeah. Like, not like make her, like, forcefully, but like to get her in that shirt is just.
Well, so that was the first thing that happened, and it just felt so, like, before we even get to, like, that the White Lives Matter thing is only a reaction to the Black Lives Matter movement. It just felt so empty to me. It's like, there's no substance here. What are you're just trying to keep yourself in the conversation.
My issue with White Lives Matter, with a lot of these, like, counter movements. One thing I ran into in high school, I had this conversation so many times in high school because there was a feminist club, and we would have men come up to the feminist club and they'd be like, what about men's issues? And I'm like, correct. When do you ever talk about men's issues if you're not trying to shut me down when talking about women's issues?
They could just go do it quietly on their own.
Not even quietly, but separately. You know what I mean?
Not even bring it up.
Like, there are very, very valid issues surrounding, specifically for me, the one I think about because I have friends, I have cousins, men's mental health. Like, that is an issue that you can tackle between men. Like, because, like...
that's men's thing. We got to figure that out.
Not like we're here to support you, but if you sat me down and you were like, the feeling when you can't speak to anyone about what you're struggling with because you're a man, I'm going to go, no.
No, you don't know.
That has to be a conversation between men that are, like, open, honest, and vulnerable about these things because male suicide rates are skyrocketing.
Yeah, and they're the majority of suicides. Yeah.
But it bothers me when these people are like, oh, I care deeply about these issues, but I'm only going to speak about them when it, like, serves me to shut you down on your issue. Yeah,
and this is, like, the most... It's like the lamest time to do it, too. It's like, if he did this at the beginning... That, like, not that I want him to be doing this, but, like, if you're going to do it, if you want to be loud about this, be loud about it whenever like it's like in 2020, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Like
my thinking when it comes to, because I don't support White Lives Matter entirely
yeah, I
against
mean,
it.
like it's just a reactionary movement. It's just
My Black Lives Matter was meant to bring attention to issues of discrimination, of like these things are happening to black people because they're black.
yes.
If you apply the same theory to White Lives Matter, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
I've had this conversation with people, and they're like, I'm a white person, and what I feel you're saying is that my life isn't hard, like that I haven't been through things, that I haven't been targeted, that I haven't been, like that I haven't gone through shit. And I'm like, of course you've gone through shit. You're a human being.
Yeah.
You could have been poor, you could have been disabled. There are a lot of things that could have made you liable for discrimination, for situations of injustice. Your life is not hard because you're white. That is what you have that puts you in a position of power. And that doesn't mean you are in a position of power.
Right.
But your life is hard. I agree. Your life is not hard because you are white.
Right. There's something, I mean, everybody has their struggles. Like everybody's going through something, but it's not because of
Correct.
that thing.
Which is why that counter movement doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, just to me, like before we even get to like that, which I agree with, like fully agree, but like to me, there's a layer before that, which is like this is lazy. There's no substance to this.
At all.
There's just like there's nothing here to even get a foundation. There's just nothing there. So
if you ask them, the people that perpetuate this, what's your stance? Like, what are the issues that you're tackling in terms of your organization of White Lives Matter?
they have like zero. They just don't have one. Yeah. And then the second one was the tweet that he made.
The one about Jewish people? That was so bizarre. That was so
when
bizarre.
I first saw it, I was like, "What? What are we?
What are you talking about?"
It's like what? Yeah, I was. Like,
It was
what are we-
anti-Semitic. It was. There were incites of violence against Jewish people.
So first of all, here's what I was like when I first read it, I was confused, right? Because I guess I just have to make a disclaimer. First of all, I did not like the tweet. I did not agree with the tweet. When I first saw the tweet, I was like, what does he actually mean by that? DEFCON 3 is a nuclear alert system that our government uses if we're close to war. So how are you going to...
I think he meant he was just shit. He was just spitballing.
It's not a verb.
No.
You know what I mean? Like it's not... So when I read it, I was like, what does he actually mean by this? But he just...
Violence. DEFCON 3.
Yeah.
It was... like, I can't excuse
No.
that
absolutely
behavior.
not.
You know what I mean?
No.
Like,
No, you
do
can't
I
excuse
think...
that.
Like, to me, it's disappointing, but I have no trouble with this in, like, people being multifaceted. Do I think that he's extremely talented? Like, do I think that he is one of the musical geniuses?
He's a genius.
Yeah, he is a musical genius.
Musical genius.
He's a musical genius.
He's a musical genius.
Do I think that means that he is right about everything? Absolutely not.
No.
And do I listen to Kanye? Not really. Not anymore.
Not anymore. Is
Not
it
that,
is
like-
it because of this, or is it just because you kind of fell off it?
99% because of this, and 1% because he's
Okay.
putting stuff out that is like whoop-de-scoop-de-poop.
Are you not a fan of his newer stuff?
I think the last album that I heard of was like I Hate Being Bipolar. It's awesome. I don't remember when that came out, but what was that?
2018.
2018.
Yeah.
No, didn't get into it.
I wasn't a fan of Donda, but his earlier
that's the most recent.
his
one I
earlier
saw.
stuff. He has so many.
808s and Heartbreak.
He has it's insane how many bangers that guy has. In his earlier stuff, it's crazy.
Which is why this is extremely disappointing to me because I don't support that.
Yeah, and that's why it's tough, right? It's like that's the thing with artists. Like when an artist does some like fucked up shit, it's like
I don't believe in separating the art and the artist.
You don't believe in that?
I don't believe in that.
Interesting. Okay.
It's a cop out.
Interesting. Okay.
The artist has these values. The artist didn't create the art separate from these values. Art is who you are. What you put out is inside you the same way your beliefs and values are. So for me to be like, oh, this person said a lot of like, let's go back. Like, let's go out of music and go into books.
Sure.
J.K. Rowling.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, like that was a hard blow. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, it was crazy to think that someone that created like such an adept and wonderful fantasy world for kids could turn around and say the most hateful shit out of absolutely nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't want to provide that book to my kid and then have my kid grow up with that good memory and do any sort of research into who J.K. Rowling is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, God forbid my kid is transgender or non-binary and is like, oh, I want to look up my idol. And they do.
It's the never meet your heroes thing.
Exactly.
Because they'll always disappoint you. Yeah.
And I would never want to put my kid through that.
It's absolutely insane. Like, just looking strictly at the Harry Potter series, it's absolutely insane how popular that series still is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, J.K. Rowling aside, like
I think it's an element of culture that's never going to go away. She could say anything, and Harry Potter's still going to be Harry Potter.
I walked into Barnes & Noble I walked in there this year for the first time in 10 years because I wanted to get a physical copy of a book.
Mm-hmm.
It's everywhere. There's like posters and Legos and comic books and like the like hardback soft covers, hardback covers. Like, it's every section of the store had Harry Potter in it to some degree.
Yeah.
It's insane. And also at the same time, I'm like not super crazy about it. That's
Dude.
my hot take.
Oh my God, my girlfriend's a super fan. I don't care about it at all.
Listen,
I was a Percy Jackson kid. I was a Greek mythology kid.
The new show's coming out.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
I
would also like it to be better than the movies that they made a while ago because I wasn't really a fan of the movies.
I understand. I love Logan Lerman.
Is that the kid that played Harry Potter?
Percy Jackson.
Oh, Percy.
That's Daniel Radcliffe.
Percy Jackson.
That's Daniel Radcliffe.
I know. I didn't mean to. I know who plays who.
But the movies they could have done much better. But I think it was separated into two separate demographics. Like, some people gravitated towards Percy Jackson and other people were Harry Potter. You also had the Maze Runner in there, talented player.
I
loved the Maze Runner.
I read the first two. I didn't finish it. I read all the Harry Potter books. I read all the Harry Potter books, and the books were
all of them.
I read all of them. Yeah.
So you actually know for a fact that you weren't fazed by it because
listen,
you went through.
I'll be completely real. There are like series that I just kind of like don't like, and I haven't like given it a chance. I read every Harry Potter book, and then I watched the movies, and I was like, oh, these movies are just like.
That's the right way to do it.
I don't think the movies are like. That's my hot take. I'm sorry to anybody listening that loves those movies. I don't think the movies are that good.
They're not.
I don't think they're that good. The books are. It's a great story. It's a great story. Like at the book level, the story is good, and then the movies are just kind of like. Yep. I sleep on those, but I'm ready for the Percy Jackson series because I love those books. I don't know if I'll go back and reread those.
I will.
I
will. Amazing.
They're not that big. The books aren't that big.
No, they're not hard to get through. You could do it in a day.
The spin-off series, though, which I read all of, those get big.
Okay.
Those books are pretty hefty, but those books are great. Rick Riordan's a genius for that series because it's so good. Okay, so we have a couple ending questions to wrap up with. What was a small act of kindness you were once shown that you will never forget?
Just one moment of niceties.
That you'll never forget.
When I was a kid, I would say 11 or 12. My parents just started letting me go to the mall, alone, with my family. Not without my family, with my friends.
Right.
And I was drunk on that power, when you're and you get to be alone for the first time. You run around the mall. You're doing random stuff
menace behavior,
for absolutely no reason.
Yeah.
I lost my phone, which means I couldn't get in contact with my parents. I couldn't find my friends or where they are in the mall. I'm running around. I'm trying to find them. I'm looking I'm starting to get kiddish again, where I'm I'm a lost child, and I'm scared. All that confidence that I had, it immediately blown away.
Gone.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm standing there like a scared little kid, and some woman's like, "Hey, where are your parents?" And I'm like, "They didn't come with me. I'm supposed to be here with my friends, but I lost my phone, and I don't know where it is, and I don't know how I'm gonna get home, and I'm freaking out." And she's like, "Okay, don't worry about it. It's gonna be fine. She brings me back to her husband and their kids, and she bought me a meal. She was just like, hey,
Wow.
hang out in the food court. Like, we're gonna figure it out. She did the research into, like, I forget what she did, but she asked me if I knew my mom's name, and so she Googled my mom, found out where my mom worked, called my mom's job, and they were
Wow.
like, she's not here, and she was like, can I have her phone number? And they were like, we can't give out doctors' phone numbers, which is true because like harassment. So she found my mom's Facebook page, friended her, found her number because you can attach your number through the Facebook page, and then called her and was like, hey, I've got your daughter here. Like, I'm going to bring her home. My husband's going to hang out and like look for her phone, but I'm going to drive her over to you if that's okay. And was I in like a ream of trouble? Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I was. It was awful. But I don't know. I feel like I wouldn't have known what to do if no one had like taken the time to stop and help me. Like, if that woman hadn't been in that space, or if she had decided like, I'm too busy today to like deal with lost child, I'm not really sure what would have happened. And I try to perpetuate that. Like, I try to think like, if you can be that person, you might as well be that person.
Absolutely. That's a really cool story. I like that.
I got my ass beat as soon as I got home. As soon as I got home, she was waiting at the door for me.
Oh my gosh. You'll never forget that one.
No.
That's in your memory forever.
Not that memory and not that beating. That's going to stick with me forever.
Oh my gosh. Okay. In a philosophical sense, what are you most afraid of?
Not being understood.
Okay.
And I think that kind of lends itself to isolation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know, the idea that I can express my thoughts and my feelings and someone could be like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And that's the vast response for all of my emotions from all people. Like, I do have like a fear of isolation, a fear of missing out, a fear of being the person that's excluded. That might be a little bit of trauma from being like bullied in like middle school and like elementary school, but
Yeah, I think everyone has a little bit
yeah,
of that.
a little, no matter how much they try not to admit it.
I have a little bit of that for
Everyone's
sure.
got I have a lot of it. I also have a fear of missing out. Like, even with people that I'm friends with, I'm like, if they hang out without me, that is the end of my life. Like, I'm going to die. So the idea that that opinion of me would be vast, that no one would be willing to listen to my opinions, to hear me out, or to just genuinely like care, terrifying.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think there's a lot of voices out there that are worried about not being heard. I think that's something that everybody goes through. So, what thoughts keep you up at night?
Okay. I have two.
Okay.
They're of the same vein, and the same vein is color. Are you ready?
Okay. Yeah.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah, I'm
okay.
ready.
Pretend there's an apple right here.
Okay.
I see the apple as the color that we know the apple of, right? Which is red.
It's red. Yeah.
Let's say for you, there's a wire that's not clicked in your brain, something snapped, the apple is blue. The color blue.
Yeah.
But you go to grade school and they put an apple in front of us. You see it as blue, I see it as red, and the teacher goes, this is red. So you know what I know is the color blue as the color red. So if someone holds up an apple, they'll go, what color is this? And you go, red. Whole time you're seeing blue. How do we know that any of us are seeing the same colors? Like, this room could look completely different for you than it does for me. But if I pointed to this table and I said, what color is this? White.
Oh, so like not even color blindness. You mean like
No, like
the association of the color and the word is
Exactly.
completely switched.
So imagine
that's such
I'm
a-
seeing this as what you describe as blue, and you're seeing this as white. But I point to this, and on the count of three, we both say what color it is. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
White.
How do we know that there's a difference?
But but if I'm seeing this as blue, but I'm calling it white, because that's been the
Correct. That's how you were socialized.
Wow.
There is no way for any of us to tell what the other person is seeing.
And that could apply to like
Everything.
Everything. Yeah, that could apply to our reality. If you've been taught, wow, that's crazy. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't know what I was expecting your answer to be. I didn't think I had an expectation, but I never would have guessed that. I never would have guessed that was like you're gonna be your answer to that question.
I also
What's
have,
the second one?
Oh, this one trips me up even more.
Okay.
Do you know what a mantis shrimp is?
Are they the ones that punch?
No. Mantis shrimp are
I think I know what they
like
are, though. I think
rods and cones, right? You know what those are, like in your eyes.
Yes.
They have multiple more receptors than us, right? which means they see colors that we cannot see.
Don't bees also have that going on?
I think bees are the opposite. I think bees are
They have
dumbed down.
less. Well, these guys are crazy looking.
Yeah,
Whoa, look at this dude.
exactly.
That's crazy.
But think about it. Think about it. Look around this room. Gavin,
yeah.
look around this room.
Yeah.
Every shade of gray you see is a color that you just can't perceive.
Whoa, so there's more.
So
and I
there's
just can't
another
see it.
layer of color perception that you
Whoa.
cannot force yourself to see.
That's crazy.
And even if you sit here and you try to theorize and you're like, okay, well, maybe the color I'm missing is a mix of pink and blue and green. It's
We
nothing.
can't even perceive it.
You can't perceive it.
Yeah, I wouldn't even
It's
be able to
nothing
describe
you've already. And like, I think about what would happen if someone flipped a switch and you were able to see all these things that you have never encountered in your entire life. I think that might be enough to like blow my mind.
Yeah,
Like,
it might go
just leave
crazy.
me immediately
that
dead.
That could actually be dangerous for some people.
Mhm.
Like that could actually.
And mantis shrimp aren't the
Wow.
highest register. Like even if you're a mantis shrimp and you can see these levels of color that we can't see, there's more.
So maybe we need glasses that can allow us
I
to
think
see it.
okay.
Kind of
So
like the colorblind glasses.
a regular plane is 2D.
Mm-hmm.
We exist in 3D.
Yes.
4D is all of the senses, like we know, like what it is.
Yep.
There's another dimension. I swear to God.
Yeah, of course
Which
there
means
is,
there's
yeah.
things directly in front of us right now that we cannot perceive.
Yeah, I think they theorize that they're like. I guess I'm thinking about like when I was in my physics class, they talked about all the dimensions, but they consider like time to be a dimension.
Exactly.
Like different and I definitely think about that. I think there are definitely different
got one
other
more.
planes of. Okay, I'm here for
Are
it
you
too.
ready?
Yeah.
Apparently, I researched this theory.
Mhm.
Molecules and atoms sit very closely together, but not entirely together. Like there's space between them.
Yeah.
Which means it's like a 0.0000000 fucking 1 chance that any of this happens.
Mhm.
But there is there's a way if you hit every molecule at the perfect angle that you could like slam your hand against a table and it would go right through.
Yes, I have heard about that.
It would
yeah.
go right through.
Yes, I've
So
heard
every
about
once in a
that.
while I walk by a wall and I'm just like
Have you-
just to see if that's the
Did you-
one time.
You seen the meme where it's the guy that's like me trying to catch at the wall, slipping, and he just goes, and he pokes it.
Because it's a
It is
low chance, but it's
hypothetically
not
possible.
impossible.
Yeah,
Will
is
it ever
possible.
happen? Probably not. To me, no. But I'm gonna keep trying.
just gonna keep
as much as I
trying?
can. But I
Wow.
also wonder, like, what happens once you're in there? The likelihood of you getting in
Do
is
you get-
already
do you get-
small.
do you get stuck?
Getting back out,
Do you get stuck? Whoa.
you would never get 2 in a row.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Would it cut off like your fingers immediately? Would you just like would you
No, I
try
think
to
it-
move and would
I-
it be
I think
stuck?
Oh, I don't know, because there's
Or
still
would it-
stuff there.
Or would it just like
Whoa. Oh, we have very different thoughts that keep us up at night. That's kind of crazy.
are yours like sad?
No, mine aren't sad.
Okay.
No, mine are just like. I'm doing like I'm in like the bridge building space with Bridge USA,
Mhm.
and I think the one that's or like right now it's, how do we quantify our progress?
Mhm.
Like in 30 years, if nothing's different, like did we fail?
Yeah, we have very
that's
different.
That's the
we
one
have
that's
very
keeping.
different things that we
That's
think
the
about
one
at
that
night.
right now. I lay in bed and I'm like, man, like we're doing all this work, and like I think that we can win, but if nothing's different in 25 years, did we fail? That's kind of what it is right now. And then also there's like another layer of that that's like running out of time.
Yeah.
Like how much time do we have as a country on this current path before it's irreversible?
Mhm.
And maybe it is now, but if
If you were willing to accept that, you
I
Yeah.
bring myself to believe that, then I can't continue anymore.
Exactly.
So, yeah, we have very different thoughts, but those are really interesting. That's kind of crazy. I have heard about like those certain animal kingdom members that can
Mhm.
see like crazy colors. That'd be pretty cool. Maybe they could be like some glasses. They can Elon work on it. All
they've
right,
tried. It's not possible.
work on it. Wow.
Because at the end of the day, you still can't perceive it. You can put whatever you want in front
Oh,
of your
yeah.
face. You don't have
Maybe
the. If you take out the brainstem of a
Maybe
mantis
the brain
shrimp and
chip?
find out how to like
Well, if
maybe.
you put it, if you could put the mantis shrimp brain into the Elon brain chip Neuralink thing,
and then
then
you put it in, maybe
put
you
it
can
in your
see more
head.
colors.
that'd be crazy.
I do not want that.
Maybe I would.
I don't want
Oh, see, here's the thing though.
Elon Musk having access to my brain.
Yeah, I'm not gonna put the chip in my brain.
Mhm.
No, I'm thinking like, would you want to see all those colors? Because maybe if you put it in your brain and you see all those colors, and then they take it away, are you gonna be like, where is it?
I think. Do you think
I-
you'd have the memory, or do you think because you can't perceive it, the memory of those colors would disappear?
Whoa,
Too much.
too much. Too much. It is. Okay. When do you feel like the best version of yourself? Like in a situation or with a group of people, or like what are you doing? When do you feel like the best version of you?
Honestly, advocacy.
Okay.
Like, as president,
Mm-hmm.
like, I am not the best version of myself all the time,
Of course.
but I get this feeling every time I tackle like a particular initiative, every time I see like actual change being made on
Mhm.
Point Park's campus, and I can attribute that to like hard work and like
Yeah.
time that I've put in and energy. I'm like, oh, when you're capable of that, you're capable of anything.
Of course.
And when I'm writing, like I'm a journalism major, like I'm a
Mhm.
writer. When I finish a piece that I'm like extraordinarily proud of,
Mhm.
and I'm like, wow, you put that together out of your own brain. Like,
Yeah.
these are the things that you can do, and you should really hone in on that to do this all the time. Keep this feeling all the time.
That's fire. I love that. What does it take to be a leader, a good leader, and how do good leaders rise to the top in this current situation we find
I'm gonna
ourselves in?
go, there has to be a word for it. Whatever the opposite of individuality is. Like
Collectivism, sort of?
yes, correct.
Okay.
But there's got to be a word for the trait, but I can't think of it right now. If you go into something thinking, okay, these people have elected me, and therefore I make all the decisions. Like, this is now my
okay.
world. I control it. I'm gonna put myself in an echo chamber and move on with my day. Like, the way I see it is, I'm the president, quotes, but what I'm doing is I'm just filling a seat. Like,
Yes.
I'm here to collect the complaints, concerns, and questions of the wider student body and then
Mhm.
promote them forward. Like, and I'm still a
Yeah.
student, so I can always promote my own ideas, promote my own questions and
course.
concerns. But if I'm going into these rooms, these spaces, and the only person whose ideas I'm talking about are mine, I've misutilized the seat. Like, you are the
Right.
wrong president if you've used your position to advance you and you only.
Right.
It has
Okay.
to be everybody.
So it's more like, I guess that would be the opposite of individualism, but I'm
Yeah,
thinking like
I
that's
don't know
sort
what
of
the
like
word would
it's like selflessness in a way. It's like
Correct.
being selfless. It's putting
Mm.
the needs of the many over the needs of the few.
Like, I don't know, sometimes the title of like president weirds me out.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned that one time.
It makes me feel so strange.
It's just a
because
title though.
It is, but it comes with weight. Like,
It does.
It does come with weight, and that's unavoidable. I just kind of want to change the culture of what it means
Mm-hmm.
to like never have like I get frustrated. There have been several times, especially recently with SGA, where I've been frustrated and I've been like, no, this is how we're gonna do it. Like, things that I've wanted to say, like, this is how we're gonna do it. This is what I want, and what I want goes. And you know what I do? I don't say that shit.
Yeah.
Like, I'm still a human being. I'm still gonna get mad. I'm still gonna get angry. But like, as a leader, you need to be able to separate those emotions from what you're actively putting out there. Because if you don't, that's dictatorship.
Yeah.
Like, you've been elected by the student body and you're not listening to them. You
course.
don't respect your executive cabinet. You don't
Mhm.
take their opinions to heart. Like, feel it all you want, hone in on it, realize that it's a natural human emotion to be frustrated, and then go back to doing what you know you're supposed to be doing.
I like that. What advice do you have for young people who are maybe wanting to be a member of their student government, who are just coming into college, or who maybe are trying to, people that want to have a meaningful college experience?
Mhm. I think the problem with student governments, high school, college, like at any level, is that there's a sense of elitism. Like, oh, this is such a professional organization. You have to be a certain type of person to join. It's not. Like, if you're thinking about joining SGA, it already means you should join SGA.
Yeah.
Like, it's representative of the school, and you're a part of the school. Like, your issues hold just as much weight as anyone else in that room, and there's no level that you need to be at where you shouldn't be able to just walk in and be like, this is what I have to say. This is my concern. Like, I'm not saying everyone's going to agree with you, but you'll feel 1,000 times better for having gotten it out, for having put it out in the area. And whether it's you or someone else, someone's going to pick that up and they're going to carry that forward. Like, that space of SGA exists for you. So take up that space.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Thanks for sitting down with us today. You're the first 2-hour episode.
Yeah, that's a long
There's never
one.
been a 2-hour episode.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. I had a lot of fun, though.
Yeah, me as well.
I have a lot of respect for you and what you're doing. I I love to see all this. I'm excited to see all this stuff you're doing with SGA. I'm gonna keep an eye on it. That web. If I know anyone that could help make the website, I'll certainly send them your way.
Yeah.
I don't know any of those people currently, but if I meet one, I'll let you know.
Sounds good. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. So thanks everybody. Thanks for listening. Peace out.